I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and today on Homebrew Review, the significance of what you're about to see may not be completely obvious at first. Why is this special? It's Mega Man 4. You can play Mega Man 4 any number of ways on any number of compilations, but this one is unique because Infidelity ported Mega Man 4 from NES to Super Nintendo. This can run natively on any Super Nintendo or Super Nintendo clone. SNES, Super Famicom, Analog Super NT, and so on. You can even play it in an emulator if you like. Just fire up SNES 9X or whichever one you prefer, but that's what I generally use if I'm doing it on PC. If I'm doing it on Mac, it's OpenEMU. That's not the point. The point is, Infidelity had to painstakingly convert every one of the operation codes in this game from NES to SNES registers. I don't think you can quite grasp it unless I say this port took him 6 months and multiple revisions to pull off. So when you've seen other Super Nintendo NES hacks before, getting NES games running on Super Nintendo, they often have glitchy, buggy graphics or no sound or any combination of the two because somebody just straight ported it without trying to correct for the differences between the NES and the Super NES. Infidelity actually did that. He painstakingly fixed every single one of those different operation codes that's not the same because the chipsets are different, the registers are different, the execution of the code is different. This is no small feat. That's why this qualifies for Homebrew Review. And it's not like the first time we've looked at a port from one system to another on a Homebrew Review. Usually we're doing things like looking at arcade games being ported to Atari 2600 long after the lifespan of the Atari system. But in this case, it's still long after the lifespan of both the NES and the Super NES, and the audacity to port an NES game to Super Nintendo just to prove it could be done deserves a huge thumbs up in my eyes, especially for picking what I consider to be one of the most underrated games in the entire Mega Man franchise. 4 is great just for the introduction of the powered up Mega Buster. Getting to fire a charge shot has become canon now in Mega Man games from 1 through 10 and on. But it wasn't until Mega Man 4. This was the first time you could hold down your button to power up a charge shot and then release it when it was fully charged. You'll notice that I started with Toadman here, and that's my preferred order of bosses on Mega Man 4, because you can beat Toadman without any of the other weapons by consistently firing the Mega Cannon, just non-stop barrage of fire, and Toadman will never do the rain flush on you. As long as you keep firing at him, he can't do his special attack. And once you beat him, you can use the rain flush to beat Brightman, because he's vulnerable to it. And so on and so forth and so on and so forth. If you want a strategy guide for boss orders for any of the Mega Man games, Rockman games, and you're new to the franchise as a whole, I always recommend mmhp.net. Just click on the name of the game that you need the reference for, and then click on the link that says suggested order, and you get a full list. You can obviously play Mega Man Rockman games in any order that you like, but usually the guide on mmhp.net is 99 out of 100 times is the order I would choose to play the bosses in myself, so I tend to agree with the listings on that website, which is why I recommend it. Why is Gary trying to hurt me here? No, Gary. Be a good snail. Don't try to kill me. Well, it's kill or be killed in the world of Rockman. You either get the snail or the snail gets you. But it still makes me a little sad to kill Gary, and then I have to kill him again. Oh, there's no justice in this world. It's a cruel, cruel world. Anyway, if you're looking for this port to play on your own Super Nintendo or SNES clone of choice, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is the publicity for this port has absolutely blown up this week. thanks in no small part to an article and video by Bob from Retro RGB. And big shout out to him, by the way. He just moved out of his New York apartment into a new home and still managed to do his regular weekly video despite the move. That's impressive, Bob, so thumbs up to you. But the bad news is that publicity caused the original MediaFire link for the Super Nintendo port of Mega Man 4 to be taken down. I guess they either didn't like the amount of traffic that download was generating, or somebody hit them with a DMCA. I don't know the particulars in this case. I choose not to speculate too much because Capcom doesn't normally go after fan games, and I would consider this to be a fan game. It's a loving port of Mega Man 4 to a system that it was never on before. That's not normally the kind of thing they throw shade at. They're not like Nintendo going after Mario bootlegs, Mario hacks, Mario ROMs. They're not generally that litigious. So I'm going to assume it was just a significant amount of traffic in a very short amount of time, and MediaFire said no to that, no thank you, and they just opted out of it completely. But, the internet always finds a way. And what I will say to you, just as a general rule of advice, is don't use Google to search for these kind of things. Go to duckduckgo.com. That should be your standard search engine browser application anyway. Just if you want to search for things, it's generally better than Google because things don't get delisted and they don't track your browser history. So you've got some significant advantages to DuckDuckGo over Google. I'm not saying never use Google because obviously YouTube is part of Google and that would be bad if I was dissing the algorithm, but at the same time, if you want to find ROMs like this one, Google is not always going to be your first or best option. And I think there's no shame in playing this because it is a homebrew game. It's not like this is going to hurt sales of Mega Man 4 on any compilation because people are still going to want to play the original NES game in its original format in whatever emulators they bundle in with the Mega Man Legacy Collection or any of the other collections that Mega Man 4 has appeared on. So this is not harming Capcom. In fact, if anything, it's helping them by promoting Mega Man 4 to a whole new audience who probably, if they didn't know about it, were exposed to it by reading about this port from NES to Super Nintendo, and if they did know about it, were excited to play it again, just like I was, just to see how faithful it was and whether or not there were any glitches. And from this Toadman fight, I can report to you right now, it's playing exactly the same way it would on authentic NES hardware. This boss fight is going exactly the way I expected it to, and down goes Toadman. So big thumbs up to Infidelity for the time and the effort that it went to go into homebrewing this from NES to Super Nintendo. I don't think this is the final version unless he gets a real DMCA and Capcom tells him to knock it off with a cease and desist letter. But I strongly suspect they won't do that. I don't know that for a fact. Capcom loves fan games. They are generally not anti-homebrew, anti-fan games. They haven't taken down Mega Man Maker. I really don't think they're going after Infidelity for this. I'm Mr. Mega Man Fan. This has been Homebrew Review. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment on the video. All those things help. Any kind of engagement is great for the channel. And I'll see you all next week with another new game.